Hello, hello, and welcome back to the 5 Foot Strong podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Gerlach, and on today's episode, we have a member of the Provincial Parliament of Ontario. Laura Smith is my hometown of Thornhill's MPP, the Parliamentary Assistant of the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. On top of that all, she's also a mom, a wife, and a strong woman who knows who she is. Earlier this year, she invited me to come down to Queen's Park in downtown Toronto to spend a morning introducing me to other members of Parliament, and I got to see how a House session was in action. What I noticed was while I was watching these politicians from up above in the gallery was how she was one of the few strong women holding her ground on the floor filled with men. I was so impressed that I wanted to have her on the podcast to find out how she wanted to get into politics and share some tips for some young girls, especially who have big dreams. I have a lot to get into with our guests, so I'm so happy to introduce MPP Laura Smith to the 5 Foot Strong podcast. Hello, MPP Smith. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. This is such a great honor.
Thank you so much. I really look at you as an inspiration for strong women. So I want to ask you the question that I ask all guests that come on the podcast is, what does being strong mean to you?
That is a very complex question because I think strength comes in so many different directions. I could literally fill up half an hour with it, but you know what? Being able to overcome things, and this is something that you can really appreciate, Jessica, and get beyond and move forward and create a path. So I have a friend, and I'm a visual person, so I'll provide you a visual. I have a friend by the name of Kathy, and she runs a place called Danny, which helps developmentally. And you're nodding your head. Everybody knows about Danny, and she had a child that needed special help, and there were no alternatives for her. So she created something. She literally created something from nothing, which is something that so many of our Thornhill community has done. And so I'm just really proud that I'm a friend of Kathy, because I like to think of things and say to myself, what would Kathy do? Because she hits a barrier, she moves around it, and she finds another tributary. So that's one area of being strong, hitting a barrier, knowing that everything is stacked against you, but you find a way, you don't give up, and you move forward. And that's part and parcel to kind of my mantra, and it always has been.
100% moving forward, and being resilient, and kind of having to pave your own path if you have to, and knowing where there are places that you can pave your own path. So I want to get into your journey a little bit. Why did you want to get into politics? Could you share a little bit with our listeners?
So I've said this many times, but usually, and I don't want to identify and separate men from women at this stage, but I come from a kind of a political family. Not that my parents were involved, but at the dining room table, it's literally filled with politics and very vibrant discussions. Is that probably the appropriate way of putting it, if everybody can relate to that? But for me personally, I did not see myself as a politician. And so what happens, especially for women, is that they get asked to join politics, and then asked again, and then asked again. There's so many things that are happening in a woman's life, and not to put down the men in politics, but we have a little bit more of a juggle. We do have that motherhood aspect and windows where we have to kind of accomplish things, and working alongside everyone else. There's a lot of compromises, and I know that as a mother. So timing is everything. I always say, women have to be asked to join politics many, many, many times, usually, and men will run into the fire of politics willingly, and they love it, and that's, I love it too, and I don't want to differentiate, but women take a very more I want to say thoughtful approach, and that was my journey. I was asked, and I was asked again, and ultimately I'll be very honest with you. I wanted to make sure that Thornhill had a voice. And I mean that sincerely. I'd been a volunteer. Some people in my family say you've literally spun volunteerism into being a politician. But if you really love the community, then that's the ultimate reason why you should join politics.
Well, I do love Thornhill. I'm a proud Thornhill resident. And to have a strong woman representing us, when I was watching, it was my first time watching politicians in action. And to me, it was so wild. And as somebody who's not in politics at all, but to see you, people had respect for you, and you've had to earn that. And you spoke like everybody was listening and gained your attention. And as a woman, like, you have to do double the work to get to where you are.
Ew.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important thing for women. We think our dreams have to be cut off by, being mothers or doing other things. But, I do believe that if you want to make a change, and you, as we talked about paving paths, you wanted to make a change.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think there should literally be what you witnessed in the Legislative House. There should literally be a boot camp just for women when they enter the legislature. I could within the first week, I could write down. I could provide a small book on how things should pan out for you if you follow certain rules. Make sure you always keep a couple of set of shoes ready to go, because your feet and being comfortable is so important, because we run so many long days. Being prepared for so many different faces. And this is not just female specific, being dimensional, because you have a constituency office that you work with, which is actually the most important outreach you can have as a politician, representing your voters. And then you have what you saw, which was Legislative Laura, where you speak in the House and you do some pretty important work. I've got some private members' bills. I don't know if I was talking about them the day that you were there, but where we talk about really making changes. And then we have another side of us where we go to events. I try and keep all of these people kind of in the same boat, but we do have many different faces, and providing that balance is very challenging. And it's something that I pride myself on, because you have to be a diverse person who's ready to engage with the community, but then really put your nose down and get some work done. So I don't know if that answers your question, but when we talk about male and female, I think it's being able to juggle all of and everything above. That's the biggest issue that
it was so cool to me, because I'm 32 and I've never been into seeing politics, and I see, I do care more about what's going on in my community. I care more about what's going on in Canada and Ontario, but to see you just say, this is how it is. You were speaking about one of your bills, and you gained attention, and you had to work for that. And so I think it's very inspiring to women of all, especially women right now, because politics is a man's world. We're seeing that, but we're also seeing the change.
We are seeing a change, and we've got an incredible group. I always say, I have incredible caucus colleagues. Donna Skelly, an amazing deputy speaker who was a journalist, she asks the right questions. I think being a really great listener is so important in politics, and then taking that and asking the right questions. And she's empowering to me. And I really enjoy not only watching her in the House, in her seat, but watching her as the deputy speaker. Because when you see Donna,
Yeah.
you know that that house is under control. Not to say anything from take away anything from all of the others, but
Yeah.
I have great confidence in what she's doing. And you know what? But it is. But things are changing. But with that, I think we also have a very diverse caucus. We represent so many different cultures and languages, and the spectrum is so high. And not only that, we have a caucus that are first generation Canadians.
Yeah.
Their parents came from nothing,
Yeah.
literally nothing. Andrea Kanjan, MPP in Barrie, and also minister. She tells an incredible story of her family's journey and the sacrifice that she undertook to get here. And just hearing all of these really incredible stories. And, I have to say that the stories are very impactful, especially when they're women, because you hear about what they've done to really get to where they are, but the compromises they've made along the way. I remember hearing, she's known as Elmac, and I don't know if you're acquainted with Lisa, but she's her child, I think, took their first steps on the fourth floor of a legislature
Wow.
because she had to do that.
Yeah.
She had to do that juggle. And I have incredible respect for her because she's very vocal about her journey, and telling a truth is very important, and I think that makes you more engaging as well.
Did you become a politician after your kids were older?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I did and I didn't. I did and I didn't. It's timing. So
Yeah.
the first time they asked, no, my kids are too young.
Yeah.
And I'll be very honest with you. I prioritize my kids and my family.
Yeah.
But I also realized at a certain stage that, I have kind of a concept that you do have to let in I don't know if you can see the helicopter above my children's, that they refer to
Yeah.
helicopter parents.
Love. Yeah.
Yeah, not that I would ever be a helicopter parent, but at a certain point, you have to let them go. You have to let them thrive in their own environment.
Yeah.
And, I think I'll just share a personal story. At one point, I think when my son, he had just turned 16 and he was just beginning to drive. And I just entered into the political arena. And one day I couldn't do something for him, and I said, "I'm sorry." And he goes, "You're not a mother. You're a politician." And I know. Oh boy, you're not my mother. And I turned to him and I went, "You should be doing things on your own right now. So this is a good learning experience."
Yeah.
So, mother, politician, but always a mother first. And as a mother, I realized that kid needs to do a few things on his own. So I was happy to take that stand. It did sting just a little bit.
Just like the Band-Aid, pulling a Band-Aid off, right?
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself since getting into politics?
Wow. You have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
This is so key. And I know you're such an amazing advocate. And it's funny because I was looking at your book, and cortisol levels, pressure in your body, these are so key. Making sure that your body is capable of doing everything you need it to do. And this applies to not only politics, but anything. Yeah. So I try and prioritize my health. I make it a habit, I have a very busy schedule. Yeah. And I want to thank, and my staff have an incredibly busy schedule. I know Daniela, if I'm run ragged, that means that she's working twice as hard to accommodate me. But, she, we realize that, that pressure, that cortisol level, that is key in, possibly causing disease in your body. So you really have to say, what did I realize? I realized I could be many different faces, but I also realized that I needed to take care of my body, and I'm attempting to do that. I'm a swimmer. I'm an avid swimmer. I try and swim as much as I can.
Yeah.
And that's my zen. That's
I was
my
going to
outer
ask you,
body.
how do you prioritize your mental and physical health?
That's a very good question. So when I'm swimming, when I'm in the
Mhm.
pool, I get into the zone and I can, I don't want to say meditate because my mind is always moving. I can't stop it. But it allows me to really relax and put things into perspective. And I can dive into the pool and be very confused about the next couple of days in my life, the next couple of weeks. And when I get out of that pool, my body is kind of regenerated, and I have better perspective. So it aligns me, and it just provides me with a touchstone, even though you can't touch it. It just, you sink into that touchstone. So I'm really happy to have that ability to zen.
Listen, it's important with a career like yours that you do take that time to prioritize your mental and physical health, because
Yeah.
it will make you a better mom, a better wife, a better politician, a better everything, because you really have to bring it back down to you. You have a lot of hats on, as you talk about, but you
Yeah.
have to be okay with dealing with all those hats. And I think that shows, like, time. Everybody uses time as an excuse to work out, and they don't have time. But I think it's important to prioritize, to take that time, just like you take a meeting with a client or whatever, to take that time to prioritize you, so that you are a better human in general. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And it's funny because, you know, I have a great affinity for prioritizing things. I try to, and one of my I got into politics to change a few things, and one of them was possibly dementia. And I care. I don't know if read my bio. I care.
That was the build that you, yeah.
That was one of them, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And just working that back into health, and it's so important. And
yeah.
when I did research on my dementia bill, and hopefully improving the lives of individuals who are unfortunately captured with this disease,
Hmm.
keeping vital and stimulated is a huge game changer in making sure that you have a positive outcome. Not even in the later years, like early onset can
Yeah.
affect so many people. So it's really important. It's important to remain engaged, and it actually helps you in the long run game. So as somebody,
100%.
yeah, like as somebody who's had to, I was a care provider for not one but two individuals in
Yeah.
my family, and I had to do that while my kids were toddlers.
Yeah.
So it's funny because when I think about that moment in time in my life, and somebody asked me to go into politics, I knew I could accomplish politics, because once you've cared for a couple of
Yeah.
kids and a couple of people with dementia at the same time, you pretty much know that you can get through anything. But you
But
know
it's that
what?
mindset also that you can do it.
Yeah, no,
You
no
have to
issue.
have that mindset to say, okay, I got this, and believe in yourself and not doubt yourself on that.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring that up, because so many people who take care of people who have dementia, they're first in line to unfortunately get dementia because
Hmm.
they do not take care of themselves.
Hmm.
So when you deal with the body, the rest will take care of itself, hopefully, and that's
100%.
yeah.
I think with dementia, I think with a lot of other diseases, like, it's early on that, but it's also that muscle mind connection, working out, stimulating the body, stimulating the brain, are all things, even at my age, that we can do to, live a healthier lifestyle for longevity.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up the muscle mind issue, because in my Improving Dementia Care Act, the interesting thing is you get to interview and meet with so many people. I'm the former parliamentary assistant to tourism, culture, and sport. So
Yeah.
in my portfolio, I had the National Ballet, and I remember walking into their office, and they decided to show me, and I was meeting all of the performers, but they decided to show me a video on Dance or Not Dementia, where these dancers who'd actually acquired dementia, the second they heard music, they were getting up and they were dancing because it was the left brain, right brain issue. And that muscle memory had not left the building for them, but the rest had, unfortunately. But that was a gateway, and they were getting back into, let's say, a positive zone by bringing music into their lives. And it was absolutely astounding. I almost cried when I saw that, because I looked at them and I went, I know exactly what you're talking about. And we were able to work on things together. So it was a really great, it's a good partnership.
Listen, I think it's important for people who take care of people with dementia or any other diseases. And I think in general, politicians, women, men, everybody, we have to put ourselves and our health as a priority, because it's not just for it is for longevity in the end, but to be healthier and better, like we want to live. Quality of life is such a big thing, and especially for longevity. And at my age, it's important to realize that how we're treating our bodies now is going to affect in 20 years, in 30 years, you know?
Yeah, we only have one body, and you have to take care of it, because there's no second chance at it, you know, unless they'll come up with something in my lifetime, which I doubt. You know, I'm a supreme believer in taking care of your parts.
100%. So what do you have to tell? Do you have any healthy tips to tell young people about living a healthy lifestyle?
Find your game. I'm not going to advocate for one specific area. You know, I swim.
Yeah.
I did that. I started swimming because I actually blew out a knee. So that is something that I live with, and I know that that's a low impact. Living a healthy life, obviously, everything is moderation. Yeah. But we all have a different battery, and some of I tell this to my kids, we all have a battery that can last a long time or a little time. You know, sometimes you get the bad end of the stick, but you want to increase the odds of living a healthier life. You know, I avoid sugars. I try and avoid sugars. It's very hard being a politician 100%. And avoiding, you know, all of these fatty, sugary things. So I'm trying to do better. And I'm trying to take care of myself, because
how do you eat properly with your crazy schedule?
That is a very good question. So
or even try to make it like try to eat better.
Okay, so pineapple is an incredible anti-inflammatory. I love pineapple. I will grab. The problem is there's so many sugars in it. Not to get into the details. So I will grab fruit when I can, but if you put some sweet potato fries in front of me,
that's your weakness. Everybody's got weaknesses.
I'm really apologetic. I make no apologies.
Don't.
For literally grabbing sweet potato fries off of anyone's plate. I don't care if they're in front of me. I will take them.
I love it. That, you know what, everybody has their weaknesses, but you know, about moderation is important, and you know, taking that time to actually eat properly if you can, as much as you can, you know, with, you know, your schedule is all over the place, but, you know, even to take that time to like bring you back to the present moment and try to be mindful, you know, is very important. And that you become a better politician, you become a better mom, you don't become hangry, you know. We don't want a hangry politician.
I've been hangry before. I was hangry yesterday. I was very hangry yesterday.
See, it makes you happier, makes you better, you know. But
couldn't agree more.
But I want to just, you know, I want to end with you asking you, especially for young girls, how do you know, you have experience and you have a journey, and the journey has made you strong, but how did you like become so confident in yourself? And how do you tell young girls in like public school and high school, like, how do you love yourself?
First of all, always start by doing what you love.
Yeah.
And become engaged with whatever you truly enjoy become engaged. I have a crew of mostly women in my office, with the exception of a few others. And they're all under 30. They're all incredibly smart. They're all incredibly engaged. And, my advice to anyone is, when you see that door open, and this is what you want to do, walk into it. Don't, as women, we constantly walk by doors and we don't think there's an opportunity for us. Don't think that way. Think of everything as an opportunity. Even defeat, even when something shuts in front of you, take that as a learning experience and move forward, because you're going to be 100% better because of it, because you'll know what to do next time, or better yet, you'll know what you don't want to do next time. So I always say that there are a magnitude of opportunities, and kids, girls in public school. It's funny. I used to read, and I hate to always make it a mother's analogy. Did you ever read Robert Munch when you were a kid?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Every kid did. My favorite story was The Paper Bag Princess.
Yeah, of course.
And if you remember The Paper Bag Princess, she very happy. She had Ronald, her prince. But this is a reverse story where the prince actually becomes the one who needs saving. And she's happy to do that. And it's fun to see this role reversal. But the interesting part of the story is, at the end, she actually saves Ronald. And if you remember the story, she looks like a wreck at the end of everything that she has to accomplish. She has to fight dragons. She has to, literally go through fire. And she gets to the castle. She saves Ronald, but she looks like a mess. She's wearing a paper bag. And he there's pushback from him because she doesn't fit what he feels a princess should be. And she basically turns to Ronald and says, yeah, well, bye. I don't need this. And that's what I would tell anybody, whether it's my daughter or any person, because you know what? You can't let their idea and concept conform you. You have to be who you are. You have to be true to who you are. Change what you can change. Try and make positive change and and move forward. But don't let a Ronald rule your world.
I think that's a great way to end. Thank you so much. I think don't listen to people's opinions, and kind of just, as we go back to, your friend who owns Danny, pave your own path if you got to. And that's strength. Is if you, as a woman, it's really, you got to believe in yourself, take those opportunities, as you said, and strive, and don't have that fear of judgment or anything like that. I want to end there, but I want to thank you again for representing Thornhill and being a strong female in the Parliament of Ontario. Is there anything you want to say before we end off?
Just that I'm going through your book, and I really appreciate everything that you put into it, because I agree with so many of your ideas, and it's empowering. And just thank you, Jessica, because this has been a great opportunity, and I really appreciate being on the show.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks for coming on the 5 Foot Strong podcast.
Thank you.